Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hey, hello there. Welcome to a beautiful sunny Friday. It's a little chilly out there, but can't complain. I just heard that Green Bay, Wisconsin, my hometown, set a record today for them to set a record like this for 49 days in a row below zero. So I just want to say, all things are relative. And my poor relative, my poor mom, is, she just lives in that weather. She was going out last night to a lecture. And I said, well, what's the temperature? She said, well, I don't know. It's below zero. She just said that the wind is so awful. So, the wind chill factor was probably about 30 below. But she goes off to her lecture. And we need I get the impression that global warming is going to result in this change in the jet stream where the winter we had this winter is going to be like the winters we're going to have. That's my guess. So we better get better at this. You'll notice Chris Potter is not here. It doesn't mean he isn't going to show. Did I understand that right, Jess?
Yeah, I guess we're going to see.
We have to see. I mean, the misfortune of this is that, he's also a journalist and he's working on some hot story, waiting for a call from a lawyer. And I guess if he expected the call, he's probably on the phone now. And whatever. We'll see. I'm not going to worry about it. We'll just keep on going. I missed you guys yesterday. I did not have a pleasant day myself. I hope you had a better one than I. And I'm a happy camper now. I am so proud. There's a picture of a sinister-looking man being led away from UPMC headquarters in handcuffs. This happened yesterday. And I saw it, and I did a double take because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It's my rabbi. God bless him. I'm so proud of him. Rabbi Ron Simons. And I emailed him this morning and said, I am so proud of you. This is what rabbis should be about, moral leadership. And that's what this guy's doing. So hats off, yarmulkes off to Rabbi Ron Simons of Temple Sinai. And I told him I'm actually going to come to Friday night services tonight, which I never do, because I want to support him. I'm proud of him. I also understand that I guess Mayor Peduto is going to be doing the sermon at the synagogue tonight, and it is on these issues. It's on social justice issues. So this is good. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, buddy. He's a very serious guy. And he's married to a rabbi, and they have a whole bunch of kids because I bumped into him once at some airport, I forget where. And he's a good man. He lives his faith. I'm proud. It's odd he wasn't identified in the picture. It just says Pittsburgh police. They don't say anything. Cited 9 people for trespassing, protesting against UPMC. I don't know. Those arrested say they'll be back. So, proud of them. Lots of stuff to talk. Was this an odd sighting? I have a few things that are bird related. I know people might think that I'm really got birds on the brain because I talk about birds, it seems, a lot. From murmurations to my love of crows to... But the fact is I've never had a bird, and I'm not pretty... God bless you. Hi. That's my guy, juggling all those balls.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shut up, Jess. Why don't you grow up?
No, I won't.
Did you hear that juvenile laughter?
No.
You're juggling all those balls. And ha ha ha.
Well, come on.
Where do you hire these people? Where do you get these people from? That's what I want to know.
You never engage in adolescent humor?
I think the question answers itself.
Well, yeah, right.
Anyway, sorry.
Exactly. So, Yowie, I was just saying, I'm so proud. See that sinister-looking guy being led away from UPMC?
Yeah.
That's my rabbi.
Of course it is.
Yee-haw!
Yeah. That's it. It's we had a reporter there, of course, and it's interesting that we have sort of seen this ramping up in the past week or so.
Oh yeah, it is.
I have my own theories about why that should be happening. I mean, I think it's they're kind of trying to keep the fires burning on this thing, and that's what they're doing. So,
there's some pretty tough ads out there that also, perhaps you've seen them, that
I haven't. I don't think.
Right, that use UPMC employees talking to the camera. I'm
on their side, you mean, on the labor side?
Labor side.
Yeah.
Why? You're saying something's going to happen on the management
side?
No.
I thought, I thought that's what you were saying.
No. So there's some, when you work at UPMC and yet you're on the public dole,
yeah,
it's the same as, all the fast food joints and everybody who pays people minimum wage. The taxpayers end up subsidizing those low wages.
Right.
Also, talking about UPMC, did you see this the other day? This just drove me nuts. Mm-hmm. So UPMC, and I'm sure other money-grubbing hospitals do too, what they've done is they've switched some of their... You used to have a procedure done in your doctor's office. Then what they do instead is the hospital buys up these doctor's offices, and then I guess the doctor's office becomes almost a whatever. They are billing Medicare at hospital rates, which are 2 to 3 times higher for the same procedure than if it were done in a doctor's office. Yep. And this is especially being done with oncology patients. So older oncology patients. And the price markups on some of these things that... I just spit while I was talking. Did you see that?
I did out of the corner
of my eye. You weren't
going
to say anything?
I was not. I was going to
be real
proud? I'm a friend and a supporter. I would not call you out like that.
What was that?
I don't know. Plus, I see my kid do it all the 5 times a day. It's barely even...
Yeah, right. Drool. Drool's just a part of life.
And we go out as we came in. Drooling, incontinent, and naked. So.
That's right. So anyway, I mean, they're just... And Highmark has said, we ain't going to be paying at this level. This is a maneuver that... and at Highmark, if they're not paying UPMC at that level, they aren't going to pay Allegheny General if they're going to do it at that level, and Allegheny General even belongs to them. So, I don't know. This is a trend of just screwing people.
I mean, the thing that sort of makes it complicated, I mean, I did, of course, see that story. On the one hand, UPMC's response there was sort of like, this is what's allowed by the contract, which isn't quite the kind of response people want. People want to sort of hear like, well, morally, ethically, why is that okay? Or medically, why is that okay? Is there some good reason other than the contract allows you to do that? On the other hand, I mean, I kind of understand where UPMC is coming from in the sense that if you were going to negotiate that stuff, you do that. That's what you do. But you can't have an agreement and then go back and say, well, we don't want to pay at this rate that we've been paying up until this point. There's nothing new. What UPMC, this practice that's alleged here, this is not a new allegation. I mean, Dan Frankel, the state representative from Squirrel Hill, who's been a pretty sharp critic of UPMC, was talking about this a couple years ago. So this is not some new practice that UPMC.
But something has happened in that the amount in just the last 3 years has doubled.
Right.
Presumably, when the cost of the meds or whatever's being done has not. So
presumably it's because they've been buying these practices up.
You wonder why healthcare in this country is so damn expensive. It's this kind of crap being done by not-for-profit entities like UPMC.
I mean, the other thing UPMC will say is, hey, look, you want this kind of thing to stop? Well, a year from now, we'll have the kind of competition that if people don't like our pricing, and it may turn out that way. I said this about a year ago, and I'll say it again. Those of us who are assuming that there'll be some other 11th hour intervention where the government, we may well be wrong. This is the only reason I think the best reason I think it might happen, I think, is because Governor Tom Corbett is in a re-election battle for his life, and he is going to need every vote he can get out of Western Pennsylvania. And this might be a way to do that. But other than that, I mean, I am not hearing from state legislators this time around what I was hearing last time around.
All right.
So people should just be mindful. This is real. Don't get complacent about it just because it got worked out before.
Well, UPMC, I mean, it's just getting when you got nice rabbis getting arrested, and he's a very nice man, drawing attention to this. They are vile, 4-letter word, VILE, vile.
I got to call in for them for comment on a story. So
you don't have to say anything.
The opinions of Lynn Cullen do not necessarily represent those.
They say that at the end of the show.
Do they?
Show.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I just thought I'd mention it now.
So anyway, before you came in, I was talking about birds. There's birds everywhere. I love this picture yesterday, 2 days ago, in all these seagulls. And again, it's because of the strangely difficult winter. These are seagulls that would normally be on Lake Erie or the Great Lakes at this time.
Yeah. But
they've frozen solid, and so they've had to come south, and a lot of them have chosen the Three Rivers. But these are seagulls that normally don't hang here. Mm-hmm. Okay? So you have this amazing picture of all these seagulls just sort of taking off at once, which I assume was caused by the photographer stamping his feet and causing a... right?
Could be.
We'll never know, but,
exactly.
But I suspect. And on other bird-related I saw a robin sitting in a bush in front of my house 2 days ago, and I screamed at him, "What the hell are you doing here?"
That was almost like a haiku for a second, but what the hell are you doing here? Hey, Simon! Robin in the bush. What the hell are you doing here?
Now, I have to admit, I have not seen. Was that a haiku?
Robin in a bush is 5. What the hell are you doing here is 7, and then you need a final line.
He didn't respond.
There you go! Silence the answer. Oh my God. First the drooling, now this. She's disintegrating before our eyes, folks.
So, gee whiz. I mean, it was going to, so it went down well below zero, and that poor little bird, I couldn't get him out of my head all last night, today, and now they're saying there's going to be more. No, I'm thinking all these little animals, oh, God help them. Jeez, this is rough.
Yes.
The other bird thing I want to talk about is, well, actually there was a mention in this same thing that the bald eagle over in Hayes, they laid a third egg. Now, normally there's just 2. They got 3. Have you ever looked at that webcam? Have you ever looked at
I have not, no.
Well, there's something posted on it that happened.
Oh, is this the squirrel or the
raccoon?
Raccoon, yeah.
Okay, you got to look at that video. Now, what's unclear is if there's still 3 eggs in that nest. And why doesn't somebody go look and tell me? Because I've been worrying about it.
Yeah, I think you have to be careful when you approach those nests.
Well,
because if like humans,
here's
some
the
birds,
weird
if humans like touch the egg or whatever, the bird wants nothing.
Well, this is no human. This was a freaking raccoon, and you know what? So the video, it's constant, 24-hour video, and see the eagle. It's a bald eagle. I mean, wow, sitting on, and I guess the male and female both.
Yes, very egalitarian,
right?
Right. The best American tradition.
And then you see he's just sitting there, and then all of a sudden, head goes around. Clearly, here's something, and then bang, up into the shot comes the back of the head of a raccoon, and the eagle has to turn and jump up, and by turning and jumping up, the eggs are exposed. He's on the eggs, or she, and then she jumps up and turns, and from what it happens very quickly. The raccoon dives in, and the eagle is like, bleh, bleh, but there's no clear. The raccoon hung for a little bit there, and it's unclear when it retreated if it had an egg in its mouth or claws. And then the eagle, like, he spreads his wings like this, like over the entire nest in the eggs, and he's like,
you kids, see what happens?
And it's amazing. Yeah. And then, but I'm worrying about it.
Yes,
there's still 3 eggs.
Yeah.
Why doesn't the Post Gazette, you get me all into watching the damn eagle, then the minute you do, a raccoon attacks them, and right the day after they lay the 3rd egg, and then do you do a follow-up?
Right. Yeah. Next thing you'll see is the back of John Silver's head as he shimmies up the tree to like count them.
Well, but you can sort of see, the eggs when you can, but I couldn't tell from there. God, I'm so worried about them. Okay.
I think it was, if it looked like a bald eagle, I believe it was a male. If it had the white head, I think the males are the only ones with the white heads. I think so. I could be wrong.
Well,
I think the female plumage doesn't have that.
Oh, could no, of course. You guys get all the... Yeah. Fops.
Fops?
Fops.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Preening around. Fops.
I will say, in the avian world as in human society, we do it because it works. It attracts the females. That's why.
Yeah, but you look at American men, they look like a bunch of slobs. Who are you guys trying to... This is why women aren't attracted to you
we
guys
let
anymore.
Ourselves go after we attract our mates. I know I certainly have. As my wife will readily attest.
It's not wise.
It's not by choice either. They make a conscious decision to say, yep, let's go to seed.
Yeah, it's not good. So anyway, it does, Anthony saw it too, and he said, I saw that attack. I wish that eagle would have ripped that coon apart. Well, I just wanted him
It's the circle of life, friends.
I know it's the damn circle of life.
Raccoon got to eat. He's got little baby raccoons back somewhere. You got to feed them. They're probably cute, too.
They are cute. Might be rabbit, though, too. Raccoons are cute.
Yeah. You can't.
And an egg. You can't get into an egg. You have a cute little raccoon and you have an egg. Who are you going to root for?
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying this is the natural order of things.
Well, anyway, that little video went viral. It's all over. People are looking at that all over the world.
I bet it is.
And they're worried about the 3rd egg. We have any reporters around this town?
Not me.
Oh, and I just want to say, they were filming Ad Nauseum, this television series with Chloe Sevigny.
Those Who Kill.
Chloe Sevigny? How do you pronounce her name?
I've heard about 5 different pronunciations, and I don't profess to know which one is right.
Chloe Sevigny. And it's due out. It's going to start up on Monday night. Yeah, A&E, 10 p.m. Those Who Kill. Got a very good review.
Oh, really?
In the Wall Street Journal today.
I will say our film and video critic, Al Hoff, was less than overwhelmed. I think she thought it was competent, but not exceptional.
Well, all right.
But who is she to second guess the Wall Street Journal?
Yeah. I mean, she works at a 2-bit little rag that you happen to have.
I went out of my way to not point out you drooling. I just thought, look at the thanks I get.
All right. Sorry.
That's all right.
All right, so now I really want this guy. Ooh, we got to take a break. But the big story. I don't know what story you're working on and what lawyers you're talking to on the phone. But the big story is who stole the crystal bowl from the mayor's office.
Bum, bum, bum.
Is that the story you're working on?
No.
No?
No. I'm writing a story that actually makes a difference in people's lives.
Fingers are pointing to somebody in the Ravenstall administration, a bowl worth up to $30,000.
All right, and we'll be right back.
And we will be right back.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Moments in Black History, brought to you by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.
The Exodus of 1879 marks a period of migration of African Americans to the western portions of America. Leaders such as Benjamin Pap Singleton and Henry Adams encouraged hundreds of thousands of socially, politically, and economically repressed black citizens to move to the promising western lands. The migrators largely came from Louisiana, Alabama, and South Carolina to escape the adverse post-slavery conditions, including lynchings and limited education opportunities. As a result of the migration, many African-American communities emerged in Kansas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and other states in that region. In a few years of migration, it is believed that 20,000 African Americans made the journey west from the South.
I've seen too many of my neighbors affected by stroke, but Highmark is helping us change that by sponsoring our community stroke programs. Caring isn't new for Highmark. I know. I've been a member for 40 years. I'm Jerry Ann Allen, and I'm better with Blue.
We're reinventing affordable health care by keeping the places we call home healthy. It's why our communities are better with Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield is an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association, subject to the terms of your benefit plan.
BurghBargains.com is your best bet for great deals in the Burgh. Log on today for exclusive bargains from your favorite local restaurants like Blue Line Grill, Atria's, Verde, Hokkaido, and The Colony. Plus discount tickets to the Symphony. The all-new BurghBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains, BurghBargains.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, who's got the Super Bowl bowl? This is a bowl made by who?
Waterford, I believe.
Waterford Crystal.
Yes.
To commemorate the 2006 Steelers Super Bowl
Was it that one?
win.
Oh.
Well, it was the one when O'Connor was in office.
Oh,
They gave
dear,
it to,
oh, dear,
yeah,
dear.
I believe. And then there's another one that we got, but that one ended up getting auctioned off in a bundle-up auction by, I don't know who the hell's got that. But no, it's worth $30,000, and he's gone. And a few other things are gone. In other words, the shelves were sort of like cleaned out. And do you think it is proper for the Peduto administration to call the FBI and say, well, or is that a little much to say somebody, hey, we came in here and all this stuff that was, for the city, it's not for the sitting mayor.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the Peduto's asked that question or something like it at the press conference where this first surfaced. And I will say, this presser where all this first blew up was an otherwise fairly routine thing about how screwed our municipal pensions are across the state, with him involving Mr. Peduto and the Auditor General. And Rick Earl of WPXI asked, were there items missing and a truck vandalized?
Yes.
So all of a sudden it sort of popped up at the end there. So it's not like Peduto sauntered up to
make a big deal
thing and made a thing about it. Now, did somebody from his administration, sort of plant that little bug in Rick Earl's ear? I mean, I don't know, but it would not surprise me if that had happened. So he was asked that question, and essentially what he kind of said was, why not let the police handle it? And he sort of felt, well, I wasn't sure that this was an appropriate internal matter for the police. And there was this sort of intimation that given everything that has sort of gone on in the department, in that particular department of the city and in the mayor's office as well, in terms of, investigations sort of floating in the air, that he just thought this was the smarter thing to do. Now, could he have turned it over, if not to his own police, to the district attorney, Stephen Zappala? I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure what the right thing to do is. That I have certainly heard people who, within political factions not well disposed to Mr. Peduto, that he was sort of blowing this thing out of proportion just by doing that. I mean, I've certainly heard that argument. I can't say. I mean, I think you have to tell somebody, and I think once you tell them, the worst that's going to happen is the FBI's going to say, this really doesn't interest us. Why don't you take it over across the street to the DA's office and let them sweat it out.
All right. Well,
it is one of those things that's,
I just want to say that was given to us, the people of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And Luke, if you've got it, or whoever the hell else, Zober, any of you got, you give it back.
Yeah. Well, certainly we should say that Mr. Ravenstall's attorney was asked about this and said that his client had absolutely no idea what Peduto was even talking about, I think was the response.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I think it's one of those things. God only knows. I don't know if the thing was locked up or anything like that. I have no idea. It could have been, anybody. And honestly, I mean, the whole thing sort of reminds me of reminded me a bit of when the Clinton administration was over and people were taking the W's off the keyboards or whatever.
Exactly.
Some of that kind of felt like, it didn't have to be Bill Clinton telling his staff, go ahead, let's implement Project W.
I'm showing Potter that. Okay, he sees it. There's raccoon.
Yeah.
All right, now look, he's in the nest. He's in the nest. What are you doing?
It looked to me like he didn't really have. It didn't look to me like he really had the time to grab an egg. I think you should feel optimistic about this.
You sure?
Well, I'm not sure, of course.
Now look. Whoa!
Yeah, too late, buddy.
Don't mess with me. Isn't he gorgeous?
He does that thing that guys do where they bulk out their eyes like this when they're in.
When they're in
fighting mode, display mode.
Whoa. Okay, if you haven't seen this, you got to see it.
And now on the video that we're watching, the eagle is settling back down to the television set where he had on the Pens Habs game.
Counting. He's counting. What? Wait, 1, 2? Is that 3?
It looks like 3 to me. I'm just saying. Although actually, it looks like there's 4 more back there, so maybe I'm not really the best egg identifier on these things.
All right. Okay. Well, you got to see it. It's amazing. Now I'm totally into this. Okay, so you know who George F. Kennan is?
Yes.
Was?
Yes. Was.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know his connection to Pittsburgh?
Went to Pitt?
No.
Oh, I don't know. Sorry.
No, I believe he went to school in Wisconsin.
No.
Where he was from.
Yeah.
George F. Kennan, more than Ronald Reagan, probably responsible for the fall of the Soviet Union.
Okay.
Would you maybe agree with that? He is the one who came up with the whole idea of, no, we don't have to go to war here. We'll contain them. Containment. Right. So, George F. Kennan, his grandson is
yes,
Kevin McClatchy.
Oh.
Did you know that?
I think I might have known that at one point. But it sounds familiar to me.
To me, that is just huge. When I heard that Kevin McClatchy was George McKinnon's George Kennan's grandson, I thought, wow.
Right.
Wow.
And from his grandfather, Mr. McClatchy learned that you don't actually have to win games.
You can wait things out.
You just wait things out for a long period of time, and eventually history will vindicate you.
That is correct. And anyway, for those of you who don't remember George F. Kennan.
Yeah. I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm sorry.
I can tell you are.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Look at
I'm done being smug.
Jess is my laugh-o-meter, and she didn't even titter when you said that. Maybe she wasn't listening.
Anyway.
Well, some of his, he kept diaries all his life. And his life, he lived over 100 years, I believe. Right. Died relatively recently. He, it says right here in the New York Times, George F. Kennan, the most celebrated diplomat intellectual of the 20th century. You wouldn't go that far?
All I know is somewhere Kissinger's going, son of a bitch. What have you said about me?
The brilliant author of The Strategy of Containment that the United States adopted and that won the Cold War. But his diaries are fascinating. First of all, they show him to be a very curmudgeonly fellow who really didn't like American culture at all.
I can see that.
And he was just disgusted by everything he wanted. And listen to this curmudgeonly, and I agree with him. This curmudgeonly thing he wrote in 1927 in his diary. You could write this today. 100 years later they can write this, and it'd still work. George Kennan wrote, I cannot help but regret that I did not live 50 or 100 years sooner. Life is too full in these times to be comprehensible. We know too many cities to be able to grow into any of them. Too many friends to have any real friendships. Too many books to know any of them well. And the quality of our impressions gives way to the quantity, so that life begins to seem like a movie with hundreds of kaleidoscopic scenes flashing on and off our field of perception, gone before we have time to consider them. So he was already railing about the quickening pace of life.
Yeah.
You don't have no. Well, I mean, he liked it when there were smaller towns where people felt that there was some kind of community, and he saw everything just going and moving too fast. And can you imagine what he would think now?
Yeah, but I mean, isn't that in some ways the point? I mean, doesn't every generation look back to a prior generation and think those folks had it easy, they had it connected or whatever? I mean, there's probably civilization has been falling apart for as long
forever.
as civilization has been getting built up. So, I mean, I think there's,
Yeah. So you can tell by his grumblings here that nothing changes.
Yes.
I mean, he wrote back in God knows when, 70 years ago, flying, but particularly airports, puts me into the nearest thing to a wholly psychotic depression.
Oh, we've all been there.
Oh, man, though. If he was
Dear Diary, sometimes I wish the Russians would just win.
In the 50s, he wrote this. He hated the 50s.
Yeah, of course.
I could leave it without a pang. He's talking about America. I could leave it without a pang. The endless streams of cars, the bored, set faces behind the windshields, the chrome, the asphalt, the advertising, the television sets, the filling stations, the hot dog stands, the barren business centers, the suburban brick boxes, the country clubs, the bars and grills, the empty activity. God.
Yeah.
That someone
those Who's down in Whoville with their Who roast beast.
So that what's interesting is usually they say somebody with a sort of cantankerous, hostile view like that. They're sort of eaten away inside and they don't live long. Ha! He lived past 100, so there's good news for curmudgeons all over the place.
That's like saying if you find somebody who's a smoker at age 90, hey, don't worry about it.
You can do it. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Look at it. I mean, sure, there were bad things coming. Back in 1927, he didn't know that, there would be like, cable TV and internet porn and stuff like that. So look at all that they were missing back then.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, this you know.
But one of the things that you can see
yes.
if you read those diaries, which I have not, but I've read about them, he's also a racist.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me either. I mean, he sounds like a
his,
cultural reactionary in every.
He was, and yet he was considered a liberal.
Yes, yeah.
But he was a cultural reactionary, truly.
Right. I mean, you know, we have all felt this way, right? And I guess when we look at somebody's diary from 80 years ago who felt the same way, the consolation there should be we would have felt that way if we lived in the time that we wish we lived. In fact, I think Woody Allen just did a movie about this, about Paris, and that was the whole sort of the punchline at the end of it was the main character like aspires to Paris of the 20s, and then he somehow time travels back, and then the people he meets there aspire to Paris of the Gilded Age 30 years before that. So, you know, I mean,
we're just a bunch of whiners.
Yeah, that's right. Suck it up, people. Enjoy your cable TV and internet porn. It's
so did you?
It beats Community any day.
Oh, dear God in heaven. I do think it's bad.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, so I hear that possible snowstorm coming in Sunday night.
Seems to be what people are saying.
You know, and I tweeted last night because all of a sudden I looked at my calendar and I saw it's the 28th of February tomorrow, which is today.
It is.
It's the last day of February. Yeah. And I thought, thank God. And I tweeted something like, tomorrow we put a stake through the heart
of winter,
of this cold, cold February. Right. The cold, cold heart of this February, right? Mm-hmm. Well, March 2nd, we're going to get pummeled again, apparently. Maybe not.
You can never tell. That's the thing.
You can never tell.
You can never tell.
But that little robin.
Well, maybe you should do something about it. Maybe you could build a little house for it. What
can I do for the little robin?
You could build a little birdhouse.
You know what? My fish, I have a little pond, and I have little fish.
Yeah.
They have survived every winter for the last, I've had them for about 5 years, those fish.
Not this time?
I don't think. I think they're dead. You can't tell because that little pond, for the first time, totally froze over. I have a heater in it to keep it from totally freezing over. The heater wasn't up to this winter. And
so how have you been feeding them?
Well, you don't feed them in the winter.
I didn't know that. You don't feed fish in the winter?
You do not feed them for 6 months.
I'll be dipped. I had no idea.
They hibernate. They go down to the bottom. Now, on a warm day, like on days when it's like 60, weirdly, and like January, and if you go outside, you will see them in the water, and they'll be like... sort of like, hey, man, what? They are. They're like sort of like barely moving. It's amazing. Yeah. And then so you don't have to feed them for half the year. In the first year, when somebody told me, no, they'll be out there in the spring. I couldn't believe it. There they were.
I did not know that.
Every spring.
This is like that scene in Catcher in the Rye where Holden's riding in the taxi cab and he's like, what happens to the fish in the Central Park Pond in the winter? And the cabbie's like, nature takes care of them. What do you think?
That's right.
And I guess...
generally speaking, that's true.
I'm once again struck by...
But see, this winter has killed off a lot of things that normally make it through winter. It's made seagulls that normally spend it in Canada come down here. It's made, I'm
expecting to have to replant some plants that...
But I'm just sick
aren't
about
up to hardiness zone 2 or whatever it is we've effectively been in this year.
I'm sick about my fish.
Yeah, I can understand that.
What a way to go, just to be like squeezed to death by ice. I mean, to literally be frozen. I hope they were so sort of out of it hibernating that they didn't notice that they were dead.
That's how we all want to go, isn't it?
Yeah, right. But I'm very depressed about it.
I'm sorry. It is sad. It is.
I mean, I went to such lengths to keep them alive because of my cats.
Right. I feel for you. I mean, I do feel bad. But they might be okay. You just
I don't know. I don't. I was even out there trying to break through the ice 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Like with a pick.
Trying to save them.
You should have gone out there with a little hut like your people.
But I don't have a little...
a little auger.
Yeah, an auger. I saw the most depressing thing about what ice fishing huts look like now.
Oh, they're all like luxury things.
Despicable. It's disgusting.
It's like deer stands, too.
Like who's what?
Deer stands.
Deer stands. I mean, practically they have refrigerators and television sets and carpeting and.
Wait, why would you need a refrigerator and an ice machine?
You're right. No, you're right. That's true. They don't have refrigerators. But I mean, that's not the way you're supposed to ice fish.
Yeah. Americans, man.
Sickening. We're getting
we tart up everything.
Bunch of wusses. But anyway, so I wanted to say that if this sort of switch in the jet stream because of climate change is going to mean that we are going to, this winter is probably what future winters may in fact look like, that we're going to have, for the world, this was an extremely warm winter.
Yes. Yeah.
And there are just little pockets that got socked.
And we're one of the pockets.
Pockets. And unfortunately, so is Washington, D.C. Right. So all those lame-brained Congress people we have who don't believe in global warming, they say, look at this! How can you tell me global warming? When if they lived in 7/8 of the rest of the globe.
They lived in Alaska where temperatures have been record highs in Anchorage.
So they only believe what's in front.
Yeah, sure.
Right here in front of them.
Yeah.
But if we're going to have all these snows and if we're going to have this cold, then we're going to have to get better at it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And there was a piece in the Wall Street Journal the other day about how the Nordic countries, who know how to do winter,
yes,
they don't close their airports.
Yeah. Sure.
Do you think if they close their airports, you never get into Helsinki?
Right. Yes.
For 8 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Couldn't get into any of those places. They don't close their airports because they know how to deal with snow. And they talk about this amazing way they clear the runways at, which airport is it that's never been closed? It was closed once for 30 minutes, and they're still so upset about that. Stockholm.
Yeah.
Stockholm's airport. And there's a woman in charge, Lena Rokas, and she puts her snow clearing team through drills 12 months out of the year. They have specific ways they clear, which are brilliant and require actually choreography. So that the first plow throws the snow to the second plow, to the third plow, to the fourth.
Right.
And
you see them in like this kind of fade.
They are. They're in but that requires. Hi, caller. Go ahead.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Good morning. I hate to kick you off some of the exciting topic.
Sure.
But I want. I hear an echo.
Turn your computer down.
But I wanted to bring up something that was in the news this week and that you didn't have a chance to talk about yesterday because you're out. It's about the Arizona issue. And, I know that it was overturned or vetoed, but I was kind of hoping that, in a strange kind of way, that it would not have, so that we could, or they could have eliminated these, I don't know what you want to call those people that would have posted those signs or whatever they wanted to exclude a certain population of society, but it would have really exposed those individuals and probably put them out of business. But the bill never should have been a part of the equation. It never should have been voted on or passed or whatever. It's something that never should have been discussed. It never should have been an issue. But in the big picture there, I think that it would have. Oh, I'm sorry. The big picture to me is that they appeased everybody by this so-called veto, and we all know the real story. Almost like with the Chevrolet company. You may not know about this, but I know you watched some of the Olympics, and they showed the ads with the gay couples. But 2 days later, well, not 2 days later, but Sunday was the big opening day of NASCAR racing, of course.
Yeah.
During their commercials, they show all the automobile commercials.
And they're all white.
I made it a point to watch the commercials.
So you didn't see those?
Whether or not they were going to show that commercial. And Lynn, they did not show that commercial. They showed Chevrolet commercials, but they did not show that commercial. So I think Chevrolet was doing the same thing, trying to appease certain audience, and whether or not we still know the true understanding and why people are trying to exclude or certain segments or certain individuals of society, and those people need to be exposed.
I don't disagree.
And I think there's a danger too. I mean, I'm not expert on the situation in Arizona, but my understanding is this bill's done, but in Arizona, as in Pennsylvania, there is no state protection that protects LGBT Arizonians from being discriminated against.
Right.
So you still sort of have that issue there.
That's right.
So I think I agree with the caller in the sense that it's very easy for us to get a little bit complacent and to forget or to feel like some giant victory. And a victory was scored. Let's not take anything away from that. But the status quo was bad enough. You know what I mean? Like we did roll back the effort to make it even worse and to as somebody who grew up in the Christian faith, who helped teach Sunday school at one point, I'm offended when these people take my religious belief and make it the cloak for their bigotry.
I can't imagine how enraging that would be.
It is. Again, I'm not fervent or anything at this point in my life or anything like that, but I do not see the Jesus that I was taught to believe in any of this.
You mean, are you sure that Jesus didn't refuse to serve somebody who was a little light in the sandals, as they say?
Yeah, like the sandals, right. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just...
I know.
So
it's
we did that.
It's such a perversion. It is just despicable. I don't know.
But, I guess the upside of it is what you're also seeing is all of these things which feel like this sort of aggressive display of political power or whatever actually come, of course, from a place of panic. Everything they're trying to do, the subtext of it is, we can't stop this from happening. We can't stop society from changing in this way. We just want to opt out of that portion of society. If you really think about it, the opting out is really where the conservative movement is. When you hear about breakaway counties in Maryland or people talking about seceding from Colorado or seceding from the United States or whatever, you talk about things like, this thing in Arizona. It's all about, we want to build a little fence around us and don't come into our little world. That's just what we want.
Yep. Guess what?
I mean, that's a big difference from where we were 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. The fearful. God save us from these fearful people.
Yeah.
We got to take a break.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Pittsburgh City Paper is available now. Pick up one today for an interview with comic Jim Norton, Pompey, and Ciro Baptista. Plus, don't miss our annual summer camp guide. Pittsburgh City Paper, available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com, your smartphone at citypapermobile.com, and at the iPhone App Store and Google Play.
Moments in Black History, brought to you by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.
The West African countries of Ghana, Mali, and Songhai used prisoners of war or convicted criminals as slaves. It was customary to sell these captives for profit or to trade them for goods. African slaves would work as all other workers and would not be subjected to heinous living conditions or other harsh treatment. One of the main differences between African slavery and European American slavery is that African slavery was not based on race. African slavery was similar to serfdom of the medieval times, where it was possible to elevate one's status to bridge the gap between slave and master.
I've seen too many of my neighbors affected by stroke, but Highmark is helping us change that by sponsoring our community stroke programs. Caring isn't new for Highmark. I know. I've been a member for 40 years. I'm Jerry Ann Allen, and I'm better with Blue.
We're reinventing affordable health care by keeping the places we call home healthy. It's why our communities are better with Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield is an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association, subject to the terms of your benefit plan.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Those are my day.
All right, you two.
Never mind.
Okay, so I just want to talk for a minute some politics.
Great.
I never heard of this guy, Tom Wolf.
Oh.
He wants to be the Democratic nominee for governor.
Yep.
The guy who will knock off Tom Corbett's efforts to gain a second term. And he's one of 6, 7 running for this nomination. And he's rich, and he has introduced himself to Pennsylvanians like me, who didn't know him, with a series of extremely well done.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, mind-blowingly well done spots. Whoever did those spots for him, wow. Because I like him.
Yes.
I didn't know of him. I like this guy. I don't care if he's rich. I like him. If he's telling me the truth in those ads about what he thinks. This is so right now when they do these polls, stop looking at me like that.
Okay.
When they do these polls, most Democrats are saying, Tom Wolf, he my guy.
Right.
Even though the assumption was that the nominee would be either Allison Schwartz, Congresswoman from the Philly area, or
Rob McCord.
Rob McCord, who is the treasurer?
State treasurer.
State treasurer. But they're way, way, way down. Now, granted, it's early, but so tell me about this Tom Wolf. You think you can come out of nowhere? I mean, he did serve in government as what? Something or other at one point. I don't know.
So, I mean, I think the
revenue secretary or something like that.
Yes. I think what this really reflects more than anything else is there's not a lot of name recognition for these candidates. There's not a strong identification with who they are and what they believe. So I think a lot of people felt just like you, well, these ads are great, and I don't really know who any of these other people are when the pollsters called me up. And Tom Wolf looks like an appealing guy, and that's a name I know, and so I'm going to pick that one. I mean, none of these folks. I mean, why is Rob McCord in the front runner there up until the latest round of polling? I mean, partly because he ran for an office that people have clicked the thing on, but who ever thought about who they were voting for when it was time to vote for, for state auditor for the
treasurer.
For the treasurer. So there's that level of that to me is just I think it's more about that. I don't know that people are flocking to Wolf so much as they're looking for somebody, and this is the first guy to present himself.
But that's what's so smart already. I mean,
agree with that.
This is smart. Okay, so nobody knows anybody, and he comes out because he's got the money to do it. This is where wealth.
$10 million of his own money.
Yeah, he's got the money to do it. He's going to get out there, introduce himself to us, and in the way he has, that is very appealing. And not allow other people to define him first and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's pretty impressive.
But I'm a little. The reason I was giving you that look before was because
I'm falling for TV commercial.
No. Are you concerned at all by the fact that this guy has suddenly vaunted himself simply because he's a rich guy?
Well, I know, but that's why. Yeah. And I know.
Don't you think there's something to be said for, whether it's Allison Schwartz or Rob McCord or any of these other folks, the people who have built themselves up by going from community to talking to the political leaders and the people?
Yes.
I mean,
that's right. But we have created a system. Our politics has been overtaken by media. And and money.
And of course, Pennsylvania is worse than
because we don't have any. We have no regulation at all.
Somebody else could have given Tom Wolf $10 million, and that would be perfectly fine.
Now, and it's why most of our elected officials at the national level are people with money.
Yeah.
And most governors are people with money, and money is. And we want to thank the Republican Supreme Court for a lot of this crap, for making it worse. Money, 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 money. So at least, though, here's a guy with money who seems like he's got his head in the right place. Okay? Yeah.
I know a guy locally whose insight on politics I respect greatly. And about a month ago, we were talking about the governor's race, and he said, I wouldn't want to pick somebody at this point, but if you held a gun to my head and said, who do you think is going to win the Democratic primary, I would say Tom Wolf.
Wow.
So there's at least one smart guy who's not me. And therefore I'm not going to name him.
Do I know him?
He has less hair than I do, and his name rhymes with Shim-O-Stool. How's that?
Wow. Wow. So what Chris is referring to is the major political reporter for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
Yeah, although you didn't hear that from me.
No, I didn't hear anything.
No.
Okay. I have had it up to here, and I'm sure I speak for most women.
Okay.
With the way we are being jerked around.
Oh, I'm excited for this. Go ahead. Yeah.
Jerked around by medical science.
Yep.
I am so sick and tired of you'll be dead if you don't do this, if you don't take those pills or these hormones, and then 3 weeks later or a year later after we've taken them all, they say, stop! Don't take any more!
Yep.
They're killing you! They're giving you cancer! My God,
Which is probably
dead.
also overhyped as well, right?
Right. So you stop, you freak, you go this way, and then they come out with another study and you're back to the other.
Right.
And I am so sick and tired of it. Methinks we're being ill-served by a lot of people who are to serve us better, including medical science and including science media.
Yes.
But now, this really blew my mind because if there's one thing that's become like absolute, it's that you have to breastfeed. If you don't breastfeed your baby, you are a bad, 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 bad woman. You are a selfish woman. You are an incompetent mother.
I really hope my wife is listening right now, actually.
Okay.
Because
you had difficulty.
We had
with
difficulty.
And you are made to think that if you can't breastfeed, you are a failure and your child will suffer.
Yeah.
Your child.
I mean, he'll be good enough, but
think of
a couple points of IQ.
Oh yeah, who knows?
Disease resistance.
And I come from a generation, and not only we were not breastfed, but our mothers drank like fish and smoked like chimneys.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Think of how brilliant I could be.
It's a terrifying prospect.
Right. So I just want to say that just the fact that there's been a study done, no one had ever thought to do a study like this before. 2 children, same mother. She breastfeeds one, she doesn't breastfeed the other.
Right.
And this is what the study looked at. So it took out socioeconomic stuff, all kinds of other factors.
Birth order, too.
All this stuff.
Yeah.
And what they found is same mother, same environment, same everything, one breastfed, one bottle fed. Guess what? No difference at all, except one thing: asthma. The propensity for a child to develop asthma is greater in the breastfed baby.
Booyah! Gather together, my sisters.
Really?
Yeah.
Really. And I just want to read this one thing because I think it's so wonderful. I am finding the cultural push for all, and it's women who are at the head of this.
Yes.
I am finding the cultural push for all women to breastfeed, no matter how difficult it is, to be more and more oppressive.
Yes.
Hopefully, this study will give women who can't or don't want to breastfeed for whatever reasons more ammunition to tell the breast is best purists to piss off.
Yeah.
Is that not great?
Amen, sister. Yeah. I mean, it is, first of all, let's be honest, in American culture in general, the woman belongs to the state. I mean, that's the mother, the expectant mother belongs to the state.
We're finding that out if we didn't know it.
You know what I mean?
True.
Like it's, and not just in terms of policy, it's in terms of how people, I mean, again, obviously I wasn't the one carrying around this sack of joy for 9 months, but I watched it happen to my wife, and I heard the stories that she would tell. It happens to us even now when people are like, are you going to go get a second one? You're going to get a second one, aren't you? You have to have a second one. It's just like, for all they know, I'm impotent. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
I had one good night and that's all I'm ever going to have. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, And so there's that side of it. And then, I mean, I do feel like, most of this stuff does come from women, the Lalesh League and all these other folks who, and it's just, again, this sort of bizarre.
They're totalitarian.
This bizarre thing. And the real irony is then you find yourself in the weird position of like the makers of these formula, like the Nestle, who are these international corporations who ordinarily I just feel like go away with yourselves. They're somehow now in the position of being about female empowerment and that kind of stuff. Like, so it's really hard to know what to say and do. And you have these situations like McGee last year or 2 years ago. McGee said they were no longer going to offer formula to women as you go home and you get like a little goodie bag when you come home. You get like 9 pounds of kids and 5, and they will no longer do that because they feel it's sending a mixed message. Well, I can tell you as somebody who had their kid in McGee and went home with that thing, which we use, and we didn't use it because there was any mixed message. We used it because our kid was hungry and he needed to eat. And we were not getting it done. So the notion that like we went home clouded, I think it demeans the woman. It says you're not smart enough to understand what we're telling you about the advantages of breastfeeding, which are apparently exaggerated anyway.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just the whole thing is just insulting from beginning to end. And it's. I mean, my wife, of course, feels it more directly.
So she felt guilt-ridden. She felt guilt-ridden. She was made.
It's hard not to. Who wouldn't?
Well, absolutely. And I know other women who couldn't breastfeed.
Who would? Everybody has it. Everybody has advice about what you're supposed to do, and yet we live in a country that provides paltry benefits when it comes time to maternity leave for a kid.
That's right.
If we're serious about wanting women to breastfeed, give them 6 months of paid leave off so they have some time to do it, and they're not sitting there behind their desks with the pump or doing whatever.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well,
still pissed off.
I know.
2 years later, and I'm still angry about it.
I don't blame you. And think of all the women. When I think of how they screw with women.
Yes.
And even during pregnancy, if you were to see a woman, let's say a woman has one drink and she's visibly pregnant, God help that woman. She might be run out of town on a rail.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I am so sick of it.
My wife once went to a state store to get a bottle of like cream sherry for a recipe, and she was getting the evil eye from people in line.
Oh, God. Okay, all you busybody do-gooder jerks. You fascists. Stop it.
Yes.
Leave people alone.
We're all doing the best we can, folks.
Yeah. Jeez.
Anyway, good show today, I thought. There was laughter, there was tears, there was drooling.
There was life, there was death, raccoons, there was nature.
That's right.
There was, oh my God, there was so much.
This was it.
And there were
like
heroic.
The Anna Karenina.
And there were heroic rabbis.
There were heroic rabbis.
All right, I love it.
Have a good weekend, Lynn. Stay warm, everybody.
Yeah, you too.
Will do.
What an intrepid reporter he is, I'll tell you. You guys have a great weekend.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.